Through the study of HRD, I've realized there is a conglomerate of different HRD definitions, all somewhat on the same lines, but with their different nuances. The original definition from Nadler in 1970 states a series of organized activities with a specified amount of time and designed to produce behavioral change. Theorists discuss individual, organizational learning, and organizational growth and effectiveness. There have been revisions and new definitions introduced over the years, which does not discount the credibility of the field, but in my mind strengthens it. Employers and individuals can see that HRD is constantly adapting and evolving. My definition of HRD is that its function is to provide avenues for individuals to grow their own potential through lifelong learning to benefit the organization's overall learning capacity, resulting in organizational growth. HRD should act as a facilitating entity to provide individuals to grow their own learning capacity as well as their own organizations. Human resource development departments should focus their attention to the learning climate as well as performance improvement in the company's employees. Lisa Weinberger says that learning is involved on both organizational and individual performance levels, and if successful, could lead to economic benefit. This notion can be found across the field. Involvement of HRD can lead to company success. So how do we get someone to learn? It is easy to accumulate knowledge when we want to, when you are driven enough to seek out education in any field. Adult learning is what is most often applied to the professional world. It is where the learner chooses the who, what, where, and how of education. Vail and Senge say that learning changes and creates us. Are they right? Well, learning is subjective, as is learning capacity. Ever since elementary school, we learned about the different types of learners, from kinesthetic to auditory to verbal. People learn differently. Post-primary school, we talk more in terms of formal learning versus informal learning. Formal learning is derived from in-person, in-classroom teaching approach, and historically the platform of education, and in my personal field, comes in the forms of formal, class-based trainings and programs, while informal learning comes from the same tree, but it splits off into two branches, where formal learning is on the left-hand side and informal learning on the right-hand side. Informal learning is so important to companies, and it generally goes unnoticed. Informal is truly in the hands of the learner and can occur through interactions with others or taking a task to learn something upon yourself with the use of atypical ways of learning, like online modules or YouTube videos. You're learning, but you're not in a formal setting. HRD and HRM can stimulate this by creating an open atmosphere where learning is encouraged as well as asking questions and developing oneself. To a lot of individuals, company culture is an important aspect of a job, which goes far beyond the look and style of an office space. How one sees themselves interacting within the company with other employees as well as any position they can see themselves grow into. However, it all comes back to performance. Growing in a company can only come from outperforming those around them, resulting from what is arguably one of the most important roles HRD should simulate: individual learning. Individual learning and growth is important. However, for an individual to have the opportunity to grow, organizations must grow as well. Challenges keeping companies to grow can vary from not adapting to changing markets, workforce demographics, and of course company leadership. But human performance technology and human capital theory place a company's success in the success of its individuals. One cannot succeed without the other. Right now, I am a construction engineer or assistant project manager. I work both on-site and in the office on a large construction project. After starting the position, I understand why it takes more or less 5 years to get to the project manager position. This is a lot of learning involved. Luckily for me, though, I truly think I'm a self-starter for my own future. I have already utilized both formal and informal methods of learning in my position, from training and certifications to simply participating in field discussions. As Swanson and Holton say, improvement over everything. I am constantly striving to become a better employee for myself, but also for my project team. If I or anyone else simply knows more, that for one makes us more apt in handling problems, but it also makes our team safer. And on a job site, that's extremely important. With all the experience I've been gaining, I hope to be a project manager of my own project in 5 years or less. At first, I did not know how HRD would be able to make a difference for my position, but handling people is one of the main focuses of a PM. As more and more people go to school and educate themselves, the harder it is to be hired for the skills that you have. Every employer wants a more useful and valuable employee to get that advantage in the workforce. This applies to construction as well. The more certifications that you have, the more valuable to a project you can be. Like I said initially, I didn't see how HRD would fit in. I saw it more or less as an elective to fill my schedule. But taking a step back and looking at the professional relationship with my project manager, I see exactly where it fits in. My project manager constantly pushes me toward getting more field-oriented certifications and more education. I see him in turn as an HRD-oriented leader. I'm not sure if there should always be a department specified for human resource development, but instilling those values in the leaders of an organization, it makes such a difference for the overall organizational performance, but for individuals as well. The principles of HRD can be applied to anyone and everyone. This is the concept I want to perpetuate within my organization with the people around me, developing people to learn and grow. Chris Argus says that teaching smart people how to learn is an arduous task, which I can see and understand firsthand with the people around me and even myself. Given all the information I've culminated from HRD 8300, I am confident I can apply the principles of organizational learning, individual learning, and others to my future endeavors. Career pathing seems much more attainable now that I feel like I know what I'm looking for in myself, and I honestly look forward to helping others learn and grow as well. I elected to take this class because I figured people have to deal with other people. But I learned so much more than I thought. I look forward to taking what I've learned from HRD 8300 and applying it to my future, as well as looking for HRD in other organizations and people.